Long before the great flood, in a time when the earth was young and people still remembered the wisdom of Adam, a righteous man named Enoch walked with God. Enoch, the great-grandfather of Noah, was taken by God, never to see death. From Enoch came Methuselah, the man who lived the longest, and from him, Lamech. Lamech was troubled by the violence and corruption he saw around him. When his son Noah was born, he said, "He will comfort us in our labor, and the painful toil of our hands caused by the ground the Lord has cursed." Noah was born into a world that was beginning to forget righteousness, but from the start he was set apart, destined for something far greater. As Noah grew into a young man, the world around him descended deeper into darkness. People became violent, greedy, and selfish, forgetting the ways of their forefathers. Idols were worshipped, the innocent were oppressed, and justice was a forgotten word. But Noah was different. Even as a youth, he was known for his honesty, humility, and quiet strength. He worked with his hands, tended the land, and cared for animals. He refused to take part in the wickedness that spread like fire. While others mocked him, he remained steadfast, a beacon of light in a world slowly crumbling into chaos. As the world grew more corrupt, the cries of the innocent reached the heavens. God, who sees all, looked upon the earth with sorrow. He saw that mankind had turned their hearts away and embraced wickedness. But among them, Noah found favor in God's eyes. One night, as Noah rested in solitude, a voice like thunder and wind spoke to him, not in fear, but in purpose. God said, "The end of all flesh has come before me. The earth is filled with violence. Build an ark of wood. Make it with rooms and cover it inside and out with pitch. A great flood will come, but you and your family will be saved." Noah, though overwhelmed, did not question. He listened and obeyed. Noah began the impossible. Guided by divine instruction, he started building a massive ark, larger than anything his people had ever seen. In the middle of dry land with no sign of rain, he chopped wood and shaped planks day after day. The people mocked him. "What madness is this?" they laughed. "A boat in the desert?" But Noah kept working. With every hammer strike and every wooden beam, he fulfilled the will of God. His sons helped him, and his wife stood by him, even when the crowds grew cruel. Noah said nothing in return. He built in silence, letting his obedience speak louder than words. When the ark neared completion, God gave Noah a new command. "Take with you 2 of every living creature, male and female, to keep them alive with you." And so, the impossible began to unfold. From the forests, deserts, and skies, animals began to arrive. Lions walked beside deer, birds flew in formation, serpents slithered silently. People watched in awe and fear as pairs of animals entered the ark, peacefully, without chaos. It was a sign none could deny. Noah and his family prepared food, straw, and water. Each creature had its place. As the last of them entered, the sky began to change. The time was near. The sky grew dark, winds howled across the land. What once seemed like a joke now became a terrifying truth. The first drop of rain fell, then another, and another, until the heavens opened wide. The deep burst forth, and water poured from above and below. Panic spread through the villages. People ran, screamed, and banged on the ark's sides, begging to be let in. But it was too late. God himself shut the door. Inside, Noah, his family, and the animals waited in silence as the water rose higher. Mountains vanished beneath waves. The old world was being washed away. A new beginning had already begun. Days turned into weeks. The rain did not stop. The ark creaked and swayed upon the endless waters. Inside, Noah and his family worked tirelessly, feeding animals, cleaning, praying, and waiting. The air was damp, the nights long, and the silence often heavy. Yet they endured, they believed. Noah led with calm strength, reminding everyone that God had a plan. Though fear lingered, hope was stronger. The animals remained peaceful, as if they too understood the sacred journey they were on. No sunlight broke through the clouds, but within the ark, a light of faith continued to burn. And then, after 40 days and 40 nights, the rain stopped. The winds began to blow and the waters started to recede. The ark, once tossed by wild waves, now floated in silence atop a vast and empty sea. The world beneath was gone, but not forgotten. God remembered Noah, not because he had forgotten, but because the time had come to begin again. Noah opened a small window and saw only water. Still, he waited. He released a raven, then a dove. Days passed. The dove returned with nothing, but on another day it brought back an olive leaf, a whisper of hope from a world slowly healing. A new day was dawning. The waters receded, and the ark sat on Mount Ararat. God spoke once more. "Come out of the ark, you and your family, and all the living creatures with you." The great door opened, and fresh air rushed in. Noah stepped on solid ground for the first time in over a year. The world was quiet, clean, and new. It was not the same, but it was a second chance, born of obedience and faith. Now Noah and his family would reshape human history in the construction of a new world that would start from scratch. Noah's first act on the new earth was not to build a shelter, but to build an altar. With stones and wood, he gave thanks to God, offering sacrifices from the clean animals. The smoke rose into the sky, and God was pleased. Then the Lord made a covenant. "Never again will I destroy the earth with a flood." As a sign of this promise, God set a rainbow in the sky. Its colors danced across the clouds, a symbol of mercy and hope. Noah, his family, and the animals looked up in awe. A new chapter had begun, not just for them, but for all of creation. From the silence of survival rose the sound of life. Noah's sons, Shem, Ham, and Japheth, each began families of their own. They spread out, planted seeds, raised animals, and built homes from the earth that had once been swallowed by water. It was a world without cities, without monuments, just soil, sky, and the promise of peace. Noah grew vines and cultivated the land. Generations would come from him, nations would rise, and though mistakes would be made again, the covenant remained. God's promise rested in the sky, in the hearts of the faithful, and in the memory of a man who walked with obedience when the world turned dark. Noah lived for many years after the flood, watching generations grow and the earth heal. His beard turned white, his hands slowed, but his spirit remained strong. He was not just a survivor, he was a teacher, a storyteller, a living symbol of faith. He sat beneath trees and spoke to children of the days before the waters, of a world lost and the promise that followed. "Always walk in truth," he would say. even if you walk alone." His words echoed in the hearts of his sons and their sons, and when his time came, he passed in peace, surrounded by love, remembered as the man who walked with God when no one else would. From Noah's sons came the beginnings of the nations. Shem's descendants would dwell in the east, Ham's in the south, and Japheth's in the north and west. As generations passed, people moved across valleys, mountains, and rivers. They built settlements, learned new ways to live, and spoke new languages. Some remembered the stories of the flood and the promise of the rainbow. Others began to forget. Cultures formed, walls rose, but deep within their history lived a shared origin, a single family saved by faith and obedience. The world had become many, but they were all sons and daughters of the same beginning. As generations passed, the people multiplied and gathered on a great plain called Shinar. They spoke one language and lived as one people. With pride and ambition they said, "Let us build a city and a tower that reaches the heavens, so that we may make a name for ourselves." Brick by brick, the tower grew tall, but God saw their hearts, full of arrogance and forgetfulness, so he confused their language. Suddenly they could no longer understand each other. Chaos replaced unity, and the people scattered across the earth. The tower stood unfinished, a monument not to greatness, but to the limits of human pride without God. The story of Noah is more than a tale of a flood. It is the journey of a man who stood firm when the world fell apart. A man who listened when others mocked, who obeyed when no one else believed, and who walked with God in a time of chaos. His legacy lives not only in books or ruins, but in every act of courage, in every quiet moment of faith, in every choice to do what is right when it's hardest. We live in a world full of noise and confusion, just as Noah did. The question is, will we, like him, listen for the quiet voice of truth? What would you do if the storm came tomorrow?